Hello everyone, I'm Brazen Eagle, and thank you for joining me here. Of course, today from Fox News, the Military Commission report recommends including women in the draft. A new report from a U.S. military commission concluded that women should be eligible for the draft if the country should ever need to reinstate the system that calls Americans into active duty service. The National Commission on Military, National, and Public Service determined that the U.S. would be best suited to require both men and women between the ages of 18 and 26 to register for the Selective Service, which would serve as a pool for any future draft. Currently, of course, only men register. Should future circumstances become so dire that a draft is required, it is in the national security interest of the U.S. to be able to draw on the best talent in the country for military service, the Commission's report stated. Roughly doubling the pool from which the nation might obtain conscripts would improve military readiness by raising the quality of those who might serve, as some women would be more qualified to serve than some men. The report said the Commission conducted extensive deliberations before reaching their conclusion, calling the inclusion of women a necessary and fair step. Selective Service noted in a statement that in order for the Commission's recommendations to be put into effect, the law would first have to be changed should Congress decide to adopt any of the Commission's recommendations pertaining to Selective Service. Additionally, because the draft was abolished in 1973, another new law would have to be passed before any Selective Service registrants, male or female, would be conscripted. The report notes that a random lottery would then be held, and then people would be called in an order based on birth year, because that's the best way to get the best of the best. Once a person is called, they would then have to go through a battery of examinations looking at physical, mental, and moral fitness before they would actually join the military. This is just part of the Commission's recommendations to modernize, enhance, and improve America's system to draw on the talents, skills, and abilities of all Americans if a national emergency requires lawmakers to do so. The Supreme Court's 1981 decision in Rusker v. Goldberg held that restricting the Selective Service to men was constitutional because registration was primarily meant to prepare for drafting combat troops, and at the time, women were barred from combat roles. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals is currently considering a case that challenges the exclusion of women, after a lower court ruled that it was unconstitutional. The Commission pointed to the lifting of restrictions on women in combat positions in 2015, and the varied roles played by military personnel in determining that the court's reasoning is outdated. Indeed, historical analysis shows that conscripts have been assigned to meet a range of military needs during conflict, the report said. For example, a comparison of the number of personnel inducted during World War II and the total assigned to combat roles reveals that less than half of all conscripts were assigned to ground combat roles in that conflict. The Commission also claimed that barring women from the Selective Service unacceptably excludes women from a fundamental civic obligation and reinforces gender stereotypes about the role of women, undermining national security. Gender stereotypes. The expansion of draft eligibility is the only part of the Commission's recommendations for increasing participation in national service. They recommend a revolutionary and inclusive approach to service comprising comprehensive civic education and service learning starting in kindergarten, service year opportunities so ubiquitous that service becomes a rite of passage for millions of young adults, and new and revitalized service options for adults of any age, background, or experience. By 2031, the 70th anniversary of President Kennedy's call for Americans to serve their nation, the Commission envisions that 5 million Americans will begin participating in military, national, or public service each year, the report says. Public service includes working for federal, state, tribal, or local government, and national service includes non-governmental civilian effort that pursues and enhances the common good and meets the needs of communities, the states, or the nation, in areas including health, security, and care for the elderly. The Commission hopes that their recommendations can bring about a culture in which individuals of all backgrounds both expect and aspire to serve their nation or community and have meaningful opportunities to serve throughout their lifetime. Well, doesn't that sound nice? At least the commission, I can say, it sounds like it's hoping for the best. But of course, make no mistake, it's all a good push to break down mean, unfair barriers that limit and hinder the suggested potential of women. And you know what? We should do such a thing. Who cares about national security, national defense, if we aren't achieving equal outcomes? That's what matters. Defense, economic security, family, and of course more things. They mean nothing if women aren't achieving the same level of success as men are. We should have a draft for women as well. We must break down barriers and glass ceilings that women face. For example, from live science, the sex difference is stark. Men are physically stronger than women on average. A study in the Journal for Applied Physiology found that men had an average of 26 pounds or 12 kilograms more skeletal muscle mass than women. Women also exhibited about 40% less upper body strength and 33% less lower body strength on average, the study found. The researchers found that height and weight differences between men and women could explain only about half of the difference in strength. Researchers reporting in 1993 in the European Journal of Applied Physiology found that men's brawn could even or also be attributed to a larger cross-section in individual muscle fibers. And a 2006 study in the same journal revealed that men had much stronger grips than women. The difference was so big that 90% of the women scored lower than 95% of the men. The team also looked at highly trained female athletes who excelled at sports requiring a strong grip, such as judo or handball. Though these women did have a stronger grip compared with other women, they still performed worse than 95% of the men on this task. In general, men are also faster than women. The fastest woman in the world, Florence Griffith Joyner, ran the 100-meter dash in just 10.5-ish seconds in 1988. And that record remains unbroken, yet her fastest time wouldn't have even qualified her for the men's 2016 Olympic competition, which requires competitors to finish the 100-meter sprint in 10.16 seconds or less. So, you know what? There might be differences in biology, but who cares? You know, biology is sexist. And you know what? To ensure equal outcomes, we should do two things. We should lower standards for men to match women, or allow women to train less than men. Lower the training requirements. This sounds like a great idea. We need more women in the military. That's all that matters. Equal outcomes. No need to find real solutions for things like, the falling birth rate, or establishing quality care for veterans, or even paying down some of the national debt. Who cares about that junk? Equal outcomes is what we need. What matters is to make sure that women have equal representation in everything. For example, just like what they do in California, they mandate that female representation on public company boards is legally mandated. Even if they're incompetent, they must still have women representation on public company boards. However, I will say in this article, they used a few of my favorite buzzwords to sound with the times, we'll say. For example, they use the words like inclusion, inclusive, exclusion, and one of my favorites, the reinforcement of gender stereotypes right here about the role of women undermining national security. I love these words so much because they let me know or understand the position of the author, speaker, storyteller. We all know, of course, regarding stereotypes, that there are some who break the mold, but stereotypes exist for a reason. Whether it's race, gender, whatever the reason. But anyways, what I say regarding from this article from Fox News is that let's get women in the draft, or at least signed up for the Selective Service, just like men.
I'm sure nothing bad would ever happen if this comes true. Nothing at all. This could only be positive for everyone and everything. Let's push for equal outcomes to make sure that this system comes crashing down just a little bit faster. But anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'm Brazen Eagle, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.